This circuit is Zener diode forward bias and reverse bias characteristic measurement circuit. This is our Zener diode. Black color ring side is negative terminal and other is positive terminal. Positive terminal connected the power supply positive terminal and Zener diode negative terminal connected with the resistance, and resistance terminal is connected the ammeter positive terminal and ammeter negative terminal is connected power supply negative terminal. This is our voltmeter, this is our power supply, this is our ammeter. At first set the input voltage 0 volt, then VZ0, IZ0. Now varying the input voltage 0.5 volt, 0.5 volt, input voltage 0.5 volt, then VZ 0.5, input voltage 0.5 volt and input voltage 0.6 volt, input voltage 0.6 volt, then VZ 0.59, 2 volt and IZ0. Input voltage is 1 volt, input voltage is 1 volt, input voltage is 1 volt, then VZ 0.667, IZ 0.09 milliampere. Input voltage 2 volt, input voltage is 2 volt, then VZ 0.704, IZ 0.38 milliampere. Input voltage 3 volt, input voltage 3 volt, then VZ 0.72, then IZ 0.70 milliampere. Input voltage 4 volt, input voltage 4 volt, then VZ 0.73 and IZ 1.02 milliampere. Input voltage 5 volt, input voltage 5 volt, and then VZ 0.736 and IZ 1.31 milliampere. Now input voltage 6 volt, input voltage 6 volt, then VZ 0.742 and IZ 1.63 milliampere. Then 7 volt, input voltage 7 volt, VZ 0.747, IZ 1.94 milliampere. Now input voltage 8 volt, input voltage 8 volt, VZ 7.751 and IZ 2.27 milliampere. Now 9 volt, input voltage 9 volt, VZ 0.754 and IZ 2.58 milliampere. Input voltage 10 volt, input voltage 10 volt, now VZ 0.757 and IZ 2.90 milliampere. Input voltage is 13 volt, 13 volt, Vz 7.764, Iz 3.86. Now input voltage is 15. Input voltage is 15 volt. Vz is 0.768 and Iz is 4.45 milliampere. This characteristic is almost same the normal PN junction diode forward bias characteristic. Now reverse bias characteristic, changing the power supply, positive terminal is connected to the negative and negative terminal connected is positive. Power supply change. Now connection is diode positive terminal is connected to the negative and negative terminal is connected to the positive terminal of this power supply. Now varying the power supply, input is 0 and Vz 0, Iz are 0. Input voltage vary 1 volt, input voltage 1 volt, Vz are 1 volt and Iz are 0. Input voltage is 2 volt, input voltage 2 volt, Vz are 2 volt and Iz are 0. Now input voltage is 3, input voltage is 3 volt, input voltage is 3 volt, Vz are 2.94 volt and current is 0.01 milliampere. Now input voltage is 4 volt, 4 volt, input voltage is 4 volt, Vz are 3.61 volt and Iz are 0.13 milliampere. Now input voltage 5 volt, input voltage 5 volt, Vz 3.95 volt and Iz 0.32 milliampere. Now 6 volt, input voltage 6 volt, Vz 4.17 volt and Iz 0.56 milliampere. Input voltage 7 volt, input voltage 7 volt, Vz 4.31 volt and Iz 0.83 milliampere. Input voltage 8 volt, input voltage 8 volt, Vz 4.42 and Iz 1.11 milliampere. Input voltage 9 volt, input voltage 9 volt, Vz 4.5 volt, Iz 1.40 milliampere. Input voltage 10 volt. Now input voltage 10 volt, Vz 4.57, Iz 1.69. Input voltage 11 volt. Now input voltage 11 volt, Vz 4.62 and Iz 1.98. Now input voltage 12 volt, input voltage is 12 volt, input voltage 12 volt, then Vz 4.67 and Iz 2.30 milliampere. Now input voltage 15 volt, input voltage 15 volt and Vz 4.77 Iz 3.19. Now input voltage 20 volt, input voltage 20 volt, then Vz 4.88, Iz 4.77 milliampere. This is our Zener diode forward and reverse bias characteristic curve.